People hear us right now? Okay, Ted can hear us. Okay.
So let me orient everyone here. My name is Kaitlin Sopoci-Belknap. I work with Move to Amend in the national office in California, and I work with an organization called Democracy Unlimited, and we're really excited you're here. So let me just make sure everyone should be hearing audio now, and make sure your computer speakers are up, and there's the conference call line. If you're having difficulty hearing through your computer and you want to try using your phone, just note that long distance charges apply. You can chat your questions in the chat bar on the bottom of the screen, and those will come to me, and I'll be fielding the questions. If there's something clarifying about what we're talking about in the moment, then I'll go ahead and interrupt Robin and ask the question. But if it's something that is kind of going to be covered later, or something that is a little off topic, then we'll have time for general questions at the end. But you can chat your questions in whenever they come to you. And if you're having technical difficulties, we're not in a position to do technical support during the webinar because we're busy doing other elements. You can email the service that we use, which is anymeeting.com. Also, the slides and the recording of this webinar will be available on our website later. So if you are having any technical difficulties, then it will be available as an archive for you to tune in on your own time, better time. So I want to turn it over to Robin Woerner. She is one of our fabulous Move to Amend field organizing interns, and she prepared the slides and the presentation today, so she's going to take the lead.
Okay, thank you, Kaitlin. Hello, welcome everyone. Believe it or not, you are in a meeting of 79 people on the internet. So a warm cyber welcome to everyone. For some people it's 7 p.m. like me and dark outside, and for some people on the West Coast it's like the afternoon, 4 p.m. So welcome to everyone to our webinar tonight, which is about our May 10th Day of Action. So our agenda for the webinar is first just an introduction to Move to Amend and who we are as a coalition, and then a little bit of background on why we're doing a Day of Action on May 10th. And last, we're going to go over the actual planning and timeline for preparing for action on May 10th. So who is Move to Amend? Move to Amend is a coalition of activists working to amend the Constitution to end all forms of corporate personhood as we build a movement for vital people-powered democracy in the United States. So let's break this down a little bit and talk about what is a coalition. So a coalition is a network of groups or individuals that come together to work on a common goal, and they uphold shared principles, and that's what allows them to call themselves a coalition. So our principles are what keep us together and what guide us and what make us a coalition and a group that can work together. And the common core principles of Move to Amend are about accountability and responsibility, both personally and organizationally, our transparency, community, movement building, dedication to Move to Amend mission, goals, and tactics, and commitment to anti-oppression within ourselves, communities, workplaces, policies, and representation. So just to take a moment on this slide, we can go back. These are very important. So all groups are coming from different backgrounds, but we're able to work together because we promise that we will do our best to embody and every day keep working towards these principles. So some of them are more obvious, like community, could be as simple as having a community-minded spirit, but some of them are a little less familiar, like the term anti-oppression. Maybe we don't know what that means, but the national team and the National Communications Hub is always available to help your group embody the principles, the common core principles of our coalition, which is a national coalition. Okay, so we envision people-powered democracy. So the issue of Move to Amend, we're working to eliminate forms of corporate personhood. So when we envision a people-powered democracy, it's a form of government in which people make decisions collectively that affect them, political policies that affect them. So we as people claim inalienable human rights, and among them is our right to democratically self-govern as a community of political equals. And this sounds a lot, the former slide sounds a lot like what we hear in the early parts of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, and that's what we mean by democracy. Okay, and we oppose corporate personhood and maintain that democratic political actors must be human beings, inherently equal and entitled to self-determination. And in the Bill of Rights, the first amendments to the Constitution of the United States, our inalienable rights are defined, and those are rights that we the people claim by virtue of being human beings. And we also maintain at Move to Amend that corporations and any artificial entity created by the government, created by the state, cannot claim status as persons in this basic sense as democratic actors, because this would subvert democracy and does subvert democracy currently. So our strategy as a movement as a coalition, is to amend the Constitution of the United States to make that claim concrete and document it in the Constitution so that it becomes a law of the land. So the Section 1 of, this is the actual text of the amendment we seek to pass, which has been introduced into the U.S. Congress by 2 Congress people, and that the first section states that artificial entities such as corporations do not have constitutional rights. The second section of the amendment states that money does not amount to free speech as is protected under the First Amendment. So we're also building a movement. So we're building a movement as part of a long-standing struggle in the United States for personhood and democracy for all people. So we have to remember that it's not necessarily about taking back democracy, but we're part of a long-standing struggle for democracy and self-determination. So we must remember that when the Constitution was written in 1776, only about 5% of the population were considered political people under that Constitution, under that law of the land. Native people were massacred. They had no right to life or any other constitutional rights under the Constitution. Of course, enslaved African people, slaves, were counted as 3/5 of a person under the Constitution, and they were considered property under the Constitution. Women were granted no political voice. Of course, I couldn't vote when the Constitution was written. Many lives have been dedicated and lost in ongoing struggles for personhood, for political acknowledgement, and for equal constitutional acknowledgement. So we're part of that movement, and we seek to build a people-powered movement that will demand political acknowledgement for all human beings. Okay, so that's about the coalition, Move to Amend, and this is about what we're going to do on May 10th, on our May 10th Day of Action. So the reason May 10th has been called out as a day of action is because it is an anniversary of the Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad case in 1886, which is a Supreme Court case that has been often pointed to as the first sort of acceptance in the Supreme Court of the idea of corporate constitutional rights. Although, actually, if you do a little research on the case, you'll see that it was only in the notes to the case, not in the decision itself, that mentioned corporate constitutional rights. So this year will be the 127th anniversary of this Supreme Court decision. And what we're going to be doing as Move to Amend groups all around the country is, as a national coordinated day of action, is big freeway overpass bannering to get our message out. So we have a cool photo. Here is a big overpass banner. You can imagine how exciting it would be to be a car driving home from work and to see this political message and to see fellow people up on the overpass there holding it up as a message to you. And we have the Move to Amend website down at the bottom so they can follow up and find out more information. Why are these people so passionate that they're standing on the overpass to show me this message? And obviously it has a creative presentation there. OMG, corporations are people, money is speech, WTF. It's very California. This was California action. So we can all do this. It's not that hard. It's pretty simple, actually. So here are the basic planning steps for doing a bannering action. The first thing you got to do is get a group together. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about all these in a little more detail afterwards. Scope out a location, assemble a banner, and then reach out to local press to promote your action. So first, you'll need to gather a group. I know some people on this call, we now have, it looks like 86 people here. Some people are here for the first time. Some people are not yet affiliated with a Move to Amend group in their community. This day of action coming up on May 10th is a great way to get a group started because you have a goal in mind and it's a fun goal, which is doing the overpass banner. So you'll need to gather a group, and you can, of course, start where you feel comfortable, reaching out to friends. And then also, we encourage everyone to really try to reach out to local community organizations, student and activist groups. So any people who are working for social justice near you may be interested in joining in this action. So really reach out to them, to those other groups who you may not know. And then you'll want to host an initial group meeting, maybe at your home or at a public space like a library or coffee shop. Place where people would feel comfortable meeting, or you could even just do a conference call to discuss the action concept and sort of bring people together. You'll also want to scope out a location. So this is fun. You can think in your heads right now, where is there an overpass that might be suitable for this kind of action? So you'll want to find an overpass that's visible to heavy traffic so that you'll have a lot of viewers for your message, and you'll need safe standing space on the overpass for 3 people at least, like in that photo, to hold a banner. And we won't be attaching the banner to the overpass. That would be dangerous and could pose a risk, and you could even risk arrest because the police, that could be considered a danger to the traffic below. If you're holding the banner and you have space on a sidewalk to hold the banner, you're entitled to do that. The police may ask you to leave, but you're entitled to do that. As you're just expressing your opinion using words and a sign. So if you have space nearby for a gathered crowd, that's a plus, that's great. And if there's potential for pedestrian outreach and people will be walking by, that's even better. You can hand out flyers and chat with people about what you're doing. You'll also need to host a banner making party. So to do that, you'll need to obtain materials, and this will actually probably should be switched. You want to gather your group first, and you could even then do something like a bake sale or a fundraising event in your community if you needed to, or just have people chip in to purchase the materials. Then you'll want to obtain your materials, and we have all the details online about this, detailed instructions. And what those banners are made of is a kind of deer fencing for people's gardens and zip ties and some plastic and paint. So it's not complicated. And then to host the party, you'll want to invite people to a location and probably have snacks and play music and get to know each other and have fun assembling your banner as a group. And last, once you've got your banner assembled and you all have your plan on how it's going to go down on Friday, May 10th, you are going to want to reach out to local media. So first you'll want to prepare a press statement with your group, and obviously the Move to Amend national team also will have descriptions of what this day of action is about, and you can put together a statement describing your action and what message you're trying to get across by holding up this banner. And then you'll want to contact, with that message, you'll want to contact local newspapers, radio, and TV stations. And don't be shy. People are excited to cover interesting local events. So really do reach out to any media that you know of. Let them know who you are. Let them know that you're doing this action and why you're doing it. You'll also want to promote using social media and any social networks that you have. And you'll want to make sure that you invite press right before the date, that you invite press to come and cover your event. So you tell them where you'll be, and you invite them to come down with their cameras, with their journalists, to ask you questions and take photos and cover your event on the day of. And this doesn't have to be limited to a highway overpass banner. If we have about 2 months between now and May 10th, and as bonus action ideas, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do. So if you feel like your group has the capacity, if you have a lot of members and you want to turn this into something bigger on the anniversary of this Supreme Court case, you can plan a teach-in. You could display a jumbo timeline of corporate personhood that is available. You can order it on the Move to Amend website, and it's just a really cool teaching tool that shows the progression of sort of the idea of corporations being human beings constitutionally. You can perform a skit if you have theatrical types that want to dress up and get the message out that way. You can get our stamps, where you stamp dollar bills with things like not to be used for bribing politicians. And you can always set up a table with flyers and snacks just to chat with people and do outreach on the street. And all of these materials are available on the website. And we've even set up a special May 10th Day of Action website web page that has everything kind of together in one place so that you have access to all this material. So a timeline. And just so everybody knows, this webinar presentation will be available after the fact. So you can come back and look at this, and you can copy and paste this, and this is a good way to stay on track, is to remember, okay, what do we need to be doing as these 2 months are progressing to stay on track. So this month, March, what you're going to need to do is gather a group, do your outreach, put out your flyers, and recruit people to participate with you. You'll need to raise funds to raise funds for making the banner, which shouldn't be too much, but that's one thing you can do this month early on, maybe a bake sale or something like that, and you'll want to scope your location like we talked about. Next month, in April, as it's getting a little springier out, you will want to obtain those materials, make sure you order them or get them at garden centers or wherever you need to go, and you'll want to plan that house party where you build the banner. You'll also want to talk to your group, really create a good action plan for May 10th rather, and you'll want to be in touch with the National Hub and make sure you get your action posted on the Move to Amend website so that it's publicized to our national network. Then as the day is approaching, 3 weeks ahead, you'll want to really start pushing out your social media, activating your networks, letting people know this is happening, pumping them up. 2 weeks ahead, you'll want to contact the press, let them know who you are, what you plan on doing. 1 week ahead, it's coming right up, you'll want to have your final meetings, conference calls, and confirm your press, just before, saying, hey, we're doing this, you should come down and check it out. And then on May 10th will be the day of action itself. That's a Friday, just so everybody knows. So there should be lots of traffic. And make sure to take photos at the action. That's something that's really important, to take photos so that we can get the word out afterwards and have something to show for what you did. And after the action, it's important to socialize and do a debrief. So post-action, in addition to sort of celebrating with everyone, which is actually really important, maybe even going to a local bar or restaurant or something and inviting people who would happen to come by on the street, it's important that groups do a structured action debrief and talk about what worked, what didn't work, any lessons learned, things like that, so that we're not just back where we started, but we can actually move forward. And it's also a great, you've come together for this action, and if you can stick together and become an official affiliate, if you're not already one, that was awesome. So you can be in touch with the National Hub, get set up with an email account, all that jazz. And you can also discuss the Move to Amend principles and your local goals as a group, study together, take action together now that you've done something and you've achieved something together and you really feel like a cohesive group. And of course, always connect with the National Hub if you need any kind of support. Okay, so that is pretty much our May 10th plan and the conclusion of the presentation, and people have been asking questions, and now we can sort of open it up and start responding to some of them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robin. Yeah, so there are some questions, some good questions that folks have been asking about legality of this. So I thought we could take that on head-on up front first. First, I want to give a shout out to the Backbone campaign, which is an organization that creates tools for action and spectacle and brings in art and creative action. And they're really super awesome. Move to Amend has worked with them a number of times, and the banner photo that you saw was a banner that was made here in California with their executive director, Bill, who showed us how to make these banners. And so there are lots of them floating around that Backbone campaign has created for different campaigns that they have done, and also a number of Move to Amend groups have created banners and are using them regularly already. And one of the things that's really cool about making this banner is then you'll have it and you can use it more often. So the shout out to the St. Paul folks and Chris, who's here for St. Paul. And folks are doing this regularly already. And as long as you are on a sidewalk and you're not blocking people's ability to walk by, so when you're scoping out a location, you want to look for somewhere that gives you enough room to have 3 people. You know, it doesn't need to be a big crowd. These banners are very light because of the deer fencing. It's actually just a netting that the letters are kind of attached onto, which is also awesome because it doesn't pull in the wind. So if you had like a sheet or, you know, a piece of paper or something like that, if it's windy or rainy, you're not going to be very successful and it's going to become a sail. So the deer fencing is really lightweight. They use PVC pipe is suggested to hold it up, and it's very easy to wield with just 3 people. And then you can go ahead and hold it on the sidewalk, and as long as you're not attaching it to the freeway at all, then you're not messing with that property. And we have not heard of any occasion of anyone being arrested, or actually even when approached by the police, it's more just been to make sure everything is okay and no issues. So I would say in terms of like risk of arrest, this is like a 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. And, you know, certainly if police do approach you and you are, you know, really confrontational, then you might be escalating your chance of getting in trouble. But chances are, if they really are going to push it, they might just ask you to leave. And if you do leave, then you will be totally fine. And our perspective and the experience that others have had is that you won't get asked to leave, and that you're exercising your free speech, and you should be fine. Do you want to add anything to that, Robin, at all?
No, sounds good.
Okay, cool. A couple folks have asked to go back to the banner, so I'm going to do that so that folks can see it, what we're talking about again. And you can make the message say anything you want. So there's another example of one from the St. Paul group that I mentioned that's on the front page of our website, and that's on our May 10th Day of Action page, and that one says, "End corporate rule, movetoamend.org." But obviously you want a message that's simple, that's going to come together, you know, with big letters and not a whole ton of text. And you always want to have the movetoamend.org website so that people who are interested know who you are and know where to go to find more information. And let's see, some other folks are asking about timing. So our suggestion is that you do this during rush hour time. So by May, in much of the country, it's light at rush hour time, and so you could do it in the morning and in the afternoon or evening time. If you're not up for getting up that early, then just doing it, you know, for the traffic as people are going home from work. And then if you want to do like a teach-in or something like that, or use our corporate personhood banner to do an educational workshop, then maybe you could do that on the weekend days, on Saturday or Sunday. And if you really do want to do it, if Friday evening doesn't work for you, then you know, we're not going to stop anyone from doing their event on Saturday or Sunday. But in terms of maximizing exposure, you're looking for, you know, commute traffic, and or somewhere where there's a lot of pedestrian and other people traffic, because we are trying to maximize exposure. And our hope is we'll do be doing national media for this as well. So our hope is, and that's part of why it's important that you get photos in as soon as possible on our Facebook, and so we can also get the message out to people who didn't see these that they happened all over, and so that we can hopefully get the story picked up in local news and national news as well. And we're really trying to shine the spotlight on this case and make clear that it's not all about Citizens United. This issue didn't start with Citizens United. There's been a lot of interest in Citizens United, and we have actually ourselves done, actions on the anniversary of Citizens United this year and last year. But we also want to make clear that Move to Amend, the amendment, is actually going to go even deeper than only bringing us back to the politics of 2009 before Citizens United, that we're going to really solve this problem of corporations taking over our Constitution and money taking over our politics. And so using this other date is a great way to show the bigger picture. So let's see. I think, Robin, you can see these questions as well. Are there any that stand out to you that we haven't covered?
Well, I noticed some questions people had about the banner. It's the banner making itself, and one experienced banner maker saying that it is a craft project, and it's not, it's definitely doable, but it is a process, and it will take time. And what those are is that's kind of a plasticky Tyvek. The letters are made out of a plasticky Tyvek material, which are cut into letters, and we have the templates so that you can print them out and use them to make the shapely letters, and then they've been painted with a bright paint and attached with zip ties. So that's physically how the banner is made, and it is a project, So it does take planning ahead, and you'll definitely want to do it well in advance to make sure that you can finish it. And then I also see a lot of people concerned about drivers. And I think we should just remember the fact that there are huge billboards by the highway everywhere that are used as advertisements by corporations and distract us as we drive. And people are actually pretty well versed in reading messaging over highways, although it is something to think about. If you think it's a dangerous intersection, maybe choose a different place that you think would be safer, where people have a longer approach, can see it as they're coming along, and then safely pass underneath. But I wouldn't be too concerned about that.
Yeah, I would say as safety-wise, you should make sure that you're picking a location that is safe for you to stand at, and that's actually a bigger. So if there's a pedestrian overpass, which actually is what these folks are standing on right here. Well, this actually was a street, but there's also a pedestrian overpass in Arcata where we've done it as well. And so, all the better. But you do also want to make sure it's somewhere where people are going to see it. And you can even hold these on a sidewalk. If you don't have an overpass in your town and there's just a main road through, you would want to make one that's like maybe not quite as long as this, but you could hold it at a little bit of an angle and then even just have it on the side of the road, and people can still read it. And the template for the letters are big enough that people can, they don't need to get up right next to it before they see it, which also is helpful in terms of safety and visibility, so that people aren't, distracted because they're trying to make out what the words are. It's very easy to see. That's part of the value of the netting too, is that it's up against the sky, and so especially if you use orange paint or like is here, it is very visible and very easy to see. So people can just look at it just the same way that they look at other signs. So, Robin said this, but just to stress that it took us longer than we thought it was going to when we made it. We started kind of later in the day and started to run out of steam. So, I would give yourself several hours, and like a Saturday or Sunday afternoon is a good time. Have folks bring food and have a potluck. Have music, and it's fun to do stuff like this, but it's not something that's just a couple snips, a couple cuts, and then you're done. It is a crafting project, and so one of the things that we can do to help you if you don't have very many people is if you let us know that you're going to do an action and you're not part of an affiliate yet that doesn't have access to and you don't have access to our database, we could actually send out an email about a meeting, the planning meeting that you set, or the work party, and let other Move to Amend petition signers in your area know that there is somebody who's willing to head up an effort, and all they need to do is show up or contact you to find out more, and that can help generate more people and more folks to help get it done. And it wouldn't be bad if you kind of had a backup day, as like if you don't finish, that you could carry over onto. But I think it's really fun to make things like this, and there's lots of people who would much rather, you know, be at a work party making a freeway banner than coming to another meeting. So giving those folks an opportunity to plug in is actually a really good way to bring in some diversity and different interests into your group. Other questions folks had? I see that there are some questions about the Santa Clara case, and actually on the main page for this May 12th action, or I'm sorry, I keep saying that, May 10th action, don't want to confuse that, there's a link to a number of resources about corporate personhood, and we will be doing you know, we will be adding additional information to that page that you can use, and there's a whole bunch of info on the website as well that you can pull from, so that as you're making a statement to the media, we can create a sample, you know, media advisory for you to use for this action, and we'll put that on the page. We just haven't done that quite yet. And there's also a whole bunch of background info, and there's handouts that you could print off and hand to people who are walking by on the street, or if you want to do like a skit the next day or a teach-in, it'd be a great thing to have flyers to pass out to people, to inviting them to come to where they can learn more. And, or, you know, you can also get brochures from us through our website, and you could be passing out those as well. So the goals of this are to raise the attention of Move to Amend, to make clear that this isn't all just about Citizens United, to give you all something fun and exciting to do, to give you a resource that then you can use in the future. Our St. Paul group has monthly freeway banner displays, and folks come out and then they all go out and hang out together afterwards, and it's a good action to do in an ongoing way in your community as well. So you'll have that resource if you want to use it. And then also we're hoping that new Move to Amend groups will form out of this, and there's a whole lot of information on our website about what it means to be a Move to Amend affiliate, and how we can help you, and how to get involved. So we will send an email to everyone who participated in this webinar, and we'll send you some links with additional info. There are about 100 people who are on the webinar right now. There's 94 people. And there were about 300 people who were registered. So we expect that there will be other folks who will be listening to this recording, and then we will also be sending out emails a couple more times between now and May, giving people the opportunity to plug in and listen to this recording to find out. And then we also have 150 affiliates, only a small fraction of which are participating in this webinar, who already know about this action, who are planning to do things as well. So potentially there will be hundreds of these freeway banners happening on that Friday. And if you know anybody who doesn't live near you but who you think might be interested in this, please share this recording with them and invite them to plug in too. Are there any other questions from folks? Are you seeing any, Robin, that we're missing?
I don't think so. I mean, just some general comments and things.
Oh, I see a question from Dennis about direct action. We're not at this time planning direct action on May 10th. However, if others started to coalesce around that, we wouldn't be opposed to having more of a conversation. But full disclosure is that we have a number of projects going on that our local groups are in the midst of. Pledge to Amend, reaching out to state legislators is about to start soon. A number of folks are working on resolutions, and so we have a very full year, and we were looking for an action for this date that would draw attention to the date and the story of corporate personhood, but that wasn't going to require a huge amount of resources and planning for our folks who are already working on a lot of local actions. So this was something that we thought would meet those goals and be an opportunity for new folks to plug into. Oh, Linda had asked about stamping money, since Robin had mentioned that as another option or something to supplement what you're doing. So we do have the Stampede to Amend project, and the law on currency defacing is that it's illegal to deface currency in a manner that renders it unusable or for the purpose of taking it out of circulation. And our agenda is just the opposite, for it to circulate as much as possible. So we have been pretty high profile about the fact that we're doing this money stamping, and we partnered last year with Ben Cohen from Ben & Jerry's to launch the project in the first place, and he has continued to work on it as well and is also pretty high profile. And to date, there have been no instances of anyone personally being in trouble, and even Move to Amend with our website on all the bills has not been contacted by the federal government. And so I think the chances of anyone personally being in trouble for stamping money are like 0 to none. And even organizationally, we recognize that we might have some liability there. But to date, we haven't seen any negative ramifications from that. So I think stamping money, as long as you're not doing it in such a way that makes it unreadable, is perfectly all right. Let's see. I want to make sure we got any other questions. There was somebody who had asked if they should contact the police in advance, just to give them a heads up. And I generally suggest that better to ask forgiveness than permission on that kind of situation. Certainly if that make you feel more comfortable and you wouldn't want to do it otherwise, it might not be a problem at all. But, chances are that if they see you and, there's a small group of people and you're just standing there and you're not causing any disruption or blocking traffic or attaching anything or hanging off of the freeway. I mean, they might come because they might think, oh no, are these people going to attach themselves to this overpass, and then we're going to have a whole problem. But once they see that you're not doing that, like I said, no one who has done this to our knowledge has had any problems, and this has happened in a number of places already. And I think that it would just be easier to say, hey, officers, and talk to them and just be calm about it rather than asking them ahead of time. That's my advice. But I leave it up to you to do what you're comfortable with. Yes, and Chris from St. Paul, who does this all the time, once a month, is reminding everyone that the most critical thing is not to block the pedestrian walkway so that people can also walk by, because that's what you would get in trouble for. The press release template is not created yet, but we will have it in ample time for you to be able to use it locally. And we will also be doing national media as well, which is also why it's really important that folks who are planning to do this, sign up and let us know that you are, so we can talk about how many places this is happening, and then send us photos afterwards. So plan for somebody in advance to, be down on the road and find a safe spot to snap some photos, and don't have that be an afterthought, because so much of these actions, this has the potential to, really spread across social media if we're prepared that way. So if we make sure that we have the record of it, then that'll help make it reach even more people who weren't even there driving by that day. All right. Della's asking if there must be a walkway on the overpass. Is ample shoulder okay? A walkway is definitely much better for your safety and also in terms of not being asked to leave, because you definitely have a clear right to be on a sidewalk. But if what you have to work with is an ample shoulder and you feel as though you'll be, safe and maybe making sure you're wearing bright clothes so that anybody who has to pull off on the road that you're on can clearly see you, then basically we leave it up to you to determine whether, the situation feels safe and like it can work. And anytime we've done this, we haven't even been approached by the police. I don't know. I'm curious, Chris, has the St. Paul have the police ever come and talk to you? Because we haven't had that. And the whole concern about the walkway, is your safety, but then also if the police do come, just making sure you're not blocking that and that you're in a place where it's legal for you to be. It's not always necessarily legal for people to be standing on a shoulder on a highway. And so that would maybe also depend on exactly where you are trying to be. I don't see a response from Chris about the police, but I haven't heard of any of them. One time, and it was no big deal. So it sounds like they just came and talked to them, and then you probably explained what you were doing, and they said, all right, just don't block the sidewalk, which is kind of what their job is. So are there any other questions? If folks have general questions about Move to Amend, our website is movetoamend.org. There's a lot of information there. You're always welcome to email us. This Freeway display is a nationwide action, and Move to Amend is a nationwide group. So if you have other questions relating to any other aspects of our work that we're doing for our amendment, please do feel free to contact us. And if you want to give us a call, the number is on the screen, 707-269-0984. And it looks like, St. Paul actually does freeway bannering twice a month, even more ambitious.
Wow.
Guy, I see you asking how many times freeway banners have been done so far. The answer, I don't know the number. St. Paul does it twice a month. There are a number of other groups who have banners who do it for Move to Amend, and then the inspiration for this project came from the Backbone campaign, and they have made a number of banners that community groups across the country have that they have used for various projects and messages. So the answer would be dozens and dozens, but I don't know exactly how many. And we have never done this before, a organized day where everyone is putting their freeway banners up. And we're hoping that by doing it all on the same day, that will make it get a lot more attention than just in the places where it's happening. All right. Robin, do you have anything else to add?
Just that also, if you wear a reflector vest, that's a way that you can stay safe on an overpass. And our experienced banner maker in Minnesota is saying that people will honk in support. So it's a fun thing to do.
Awesome. Well, I hope everyone who's on this call will sign up to participate. If you're not sure yet, feel free to say that you want to or maybe, and we can follow up with you. There's also a place in the survey at the end which you'll be taken to automatically when we close the webinar. You'll just, it's a quick survey, and we'd love to get your feedback and sense of whether you're planning to do this. And if there's anything else that you need from us, there's a place for you to put that. So if there are other questions that maybe we missed or that you didn't get a chance to ask, again, you can always email us. There's a lot of information on our website about the different aspects of this campaign and how we're getting this amendment passed and what the amendment says and all of the activity that's happening all over the country. This webinar was geared on this action, so if you have other questions, feel free to follow up with us, and we'd be happy to answer them for you. All right. So looks like we'll do the last question. Bob, as I said earlier, there are about 300 people who have signed up and said that they're interested in doing these actions. There are about 100 who are on this call right now. we will be sending additional emails to our own list and through Facebook to try and recruit more people as well. So we're hoping that hundreds of people will do this on May 10th. And with that, I think we're going to close out because we're almost at the hour. And so thank you everyone for being here. When we end the meeting, you'll be taken automatically to a short survey, and we'd love to get your feedback. Any additional questions you have can be put in there, and we will follow up with you. And then after the survey, the page you'll be taken to is the page on our website with resources on this action. So please do be in touch if you need anything from us, and we will send the slides and the recording to everyone who signed up for this webinar. So look for that email either later tonight or tomorrow. And the webinar recordings are always available on our website at movetoamend.org/webinars. And thank you, Robin, for preparing all of this and doing a great job today.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone, and have a good afternoon if you're on the West Coast and a good night if you're on the East Coast and anywhere in between.
Hey, bye everybody. We'll be in touch soon.
Bye.